Are we ready? If we had a cameraman, we'd get going. Good evening to everyone here and everyone at home. To this, the February 23rd, 2021 regular meeting of the Barefoot Bay Recreation District Board of Trustees. As we've done in the past, we'll have a moment of silence, start the meeting moment of silence to recognize and honor those individuals who work tirelessly to protect our country and our individual welfare, security, and safety. This includes members of the armed services, police, firefighters, and especially our healthcare workers who serve on the front lines in the fight against the COVID virus. Please remember the 500,000 plus people we've lost in the last year. Moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Morrissey, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Mr. Gruno, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Loveland is excused. Mr. Gruno, present. Mr. Morrissey. Mr. Nugent. Chairman Mino.
Present.
We also have in attendance tonight John Coffey, our community manager, Stephanie Brown, our district clerk, Cliff Reppinger, our counsel, and the only two I saw out in the audience was Rich Armington from Resident Relations and Matt Getz from Property Services. We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before we go on, we do not have any presentations, proclamations. Before we go on, we are going to be deleting item 9 9F from the agenda. You all received a memo on that earlier. We're going to be putting that out for bid, so we did not need it up for discussion. I would look from a motion immediately to amend the agenda to remove item 9F from the agenda.
Move to amend the agenda as stated.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Approval of minutes. Mr. Gruno.
Move to approve the minutes.
All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Treasurer's report. I'm sorry, I jumped down. I was looking at this bottom one. Treasurer's report, Mr. Gruno.
No worries. All right, the Treasurer's report for February 23rd, 2021. In petty cash, we have $2,500. Our operating cash in the MB&T operating account is $425,610.57. Our small business reserve account is $699,284.23. Our total cash balances in the general fund, $4,127,394.80. Our total daily deposits for daily and assessments, $285,666.62. We have quite a few expenditures over $5,000. Duval Ford, $22,093. Florida Power and Light, $5,422.49. Health First Health Plans, $26,205.71. We have Parkett Construction, $61,868.11. We have TLC Engineering Solutions, $10,530. Whitebird Law, $20,098.50. Complete Restaurant Equipment, $62,509.75. We have Duval Ford, $34,435.20. Special District Services, $13,595.75. ABM Landscape and Turf Services, $38,955.02. We have Complete Restaurant Equipment, $22,319.13. Omega Technology Solutions, $16,305.83. And I'll make a little aside comment here. I worked with them last week for this computer, and they were outstanding. Morgan Brothers, $6,925. MSL Professional Association, $13,000. The paychecks for the payroll up into 1/17/21, $58,745.76. United States Treasury, $16,805.91. Paychecks for the payroll going up to 1/31/21, $59,895.26. And United States Treasury payroll taxes, $16,854.38. And then the Florida Department of Revenue, $9,981.70. Total expenditures, $5,000 or above, $516,546.60. At the last meeting, it was asked that, how about an accounting for any of the checks written for under $5,000? You'll notice that has now been added. Expenditures under $5,000 was $103,929.75. So total expenditures for this period, $620,476.37.
Thank you. We would need a motion to accept the financial report and to approve payment of bills.
I make that motion to approve the treasurer's report as read and pay the bills.
Thank you. We need a second. Mr. Morrissey, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Audience participation. As you can see, we have a full house tonight, and I think we have some people outside even, but I think we'll do the letter first, if that's all right, John. And I would remind everyone, we have a number of people who would like to speak. Tonight, we're going to stick strictly to the 3 minutes, so if you don't have to take the whole 3 minutes, but please don't go over 3 minutes. We have a lot of people who would like to speak tonight. Mr. Coffey.
Letter from Richard Schwatlow, 636 Marlin Circle. I'm writing this letter to explain to residents of the Bay the issue of responding to questions. The chairperson made the decision to not answer any questions posed by a resident during a BOT meeting. The chairperson has the authority based on the charter to declare that questions will not be answered. For the benefit and information of the Bay residents, the charter states questions, quote, may be answered by the chairperson or direct the question to another board member, end quote. The prior board chairman did respond to some questions or direct questions to another board member. My opinion is the board misses an opportunity by not responding to some very relevant questions which would provide pertinent information to the residents. I feel this is important because there are not enough town hall meetings where there can be a dialogue between residents and the board.
That's it? Okay, we will start out. First one is, and when you get up, please give your name again and your address, please. First is Don Forsman. Push the button.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to thank the Board of Trustees. I would like to thank our county manager, our clerk, and our legal representative for being here and also volunteering their time to assist in the development and the improvements that we have in Barefoot Bay. The reason I am here this evening is because I've been asked over the last month to appear. And my name is Dawn Forsman. I live at 1072 Manila Drive. I am the president of the Aqua Zumba Club, and I also am the certified instructor. I am certified in Zumba as well as Aqua Zumba to teach classes for free here in Barefoot Bay. Now, I have sent a letter as of February 2nd to each of the trustees. Did you receive them?
I don't believe I did.
Excuse me, it was an email.
Maybe we did. I'm not. I
It was
received
an
so many letters.
email, and
Maybe
of
I
course
did.
you've forgotten. So, what I need to do is give you a little bit of history. The Aqua Zumba Club, even though this is not on the agenda, it has created some tension within Pool 3 because there are a band of people who have ridiculed me and also attempted to attack my reputation. I have taught Aqua Zumba in Barefoot Bay for 10 years. I created a club. We have 55 members who participate in the water exercise program that consists of 3 hours a week. It is therapeutic for most of the residents who attend the class have many disabilities. I have representatives who have filled the room today to let you know what this program is about. But just to remind you, it has been going on for 10 years. When we first initiated the program, it was a 6-hour program. I reduced the number of hours because we chose to keep our classes and the program in Pool 3. Initially, there were 3 classes in Pool 1, and then we also had 3 classes in Pool 3. But just to update you, for the last 7 years, I have maintained the 2 to 3 o'clock time frame for this particular program because no one wanted it. Suddenly, I have a band of sunbathers who are harassing me and basically have forced me into a position that I must come to you to ask you if you will please do some type of agenda motion to allow us to continue this program. The program is not only therapeutic, it also provides many of the residents who are widows with camaraderie. And as you and I both know, going through this COVID-19 process, it's very stressful and people feel alone and isolated. This way, we are able to communicate with each other. We also offer our assistance in providing what I would call a nonprofit fundraiser. So we're not just a 3-hour class. We are more than that. We support the community. We attend most of the functions. We do the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We participate in the golf cart parade at Christmas. We also have participated in the Party in Pink here in the Bay. And
Don, I have to ask you to wrap it up. We're only going 3 minutes.
I understand. I would ask you, if you would please, make a decision to allow my class 3 hours out of 42 hours in 1 week stay from 2 to 3. Unfortunately, I am committed because I am paid and I also volunteer in the morning, so I cannot shift this time frame to a morning time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also want to tell you I have a letter. It's actually been written by one of the representatives who is in the 19th hole, and I just want to read that very quickly.
No, we have 25 people here, Don. I'm sorry. 3 minutes, please.
So
You can hand it. We'll enter it into our records, okay?
Pardon?
Just if you want to give it to us, we'll just put it into our
Okay,
records.
that's fine.
Sure,
She said she wanted to make sure that it was recorded.
sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, Bill Murphy?
Mr. Chairman?
Very low chairs. My name is Bill Murphy, and I have been an aqua zumba supporter from the day one back in 2010. When I saw how much fun 40 people were having at the same time improving their health in aggressive cardio exercise, I knew we had made the right decision to move here. The American Heart Association recommends a minimum of 150 minutes per week of heart-pumping physical activity, which they sadly acknowledge only 1 in 5 adults get to maintain good health. Aqua Zumba provides this. Aqua Club members are given the opportunity to be one of those people that are referred by the American Heart Association. Thanks to Don Forsman's generous efforts, our community can boast providing a health-promoting activity that only takes 3 hours each week, and it is fun. I am grateful that our community manager has recognized these health benefits and that he has stood behind the club to maintain the traditional Aqua Zumba time schedule at Pool 3, 2 to 3, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. This time period is Dawn's gift to the Bay. It coincides with her professional schedule spent with paying clients in the morning and later in the day. I hope the board will stand behind John Coffey's decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Becky Greaves?
Good evening.
My name is Rebecca Greaves. I'm a registered nurse, but I also have my certification in geriatrics.
Could you give us your address too, please? so we
Oh,
have-
I'm sorry, yes, 567 Tarpon Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Being a registered nurse and knowing the importance of geriatrics, I feel aqua zumba is really important for the people of Barefoot Bay. Some of the things that are helpful as far as aqua zumba goes is people that have disabilities, whether it be arthritis, diabetes, that are trying to maintain their blood sugars. Some people come there status post-surgical procedures in order to have therapy. So cognition is another big thing, because Donna's an instructor. She will give us different dances to do along the way that are fun. But in doing that, there's part of it that's you need to maintain cognition, and this helps our people keep their cognition active. We have people that have multiple sclerosis, multiple dystrophy, muscular dystrophy rather, and we even have a gentleman who is deaf that comes to partake in our class because he can feel the movement and the vibration in the water. He can't hear. He does hear some sounds, but not to the extent, and he's really so upset that he has stopped coming, which is really sad. So anyway, I won't take any more of your time, but I do want to thank you all for listening to us this evening, and hopefully you realize the significance of aqua zumba as far as socialization and physical and mental health. So I appreciate you, and I wouldn't want to be in your position right now, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Sally Thomas.
Good evening. I'm Sally Thomas. My address is 610 Puffin Drive. I'm new to the Bay. Been here maybe a month and a half, too. One of the reasons why we decided to locate here after looking at many, many facilities in this area, and we decided to make the Bay our home, was that you have all these great, great clubs that you could belong to and be a part of a family. You know, all these women, they're amazing. I was diagnosed not too long ago. My muscles are not that great, and they're going to get worse. The reason why I did choose to stay at this Bay is because you have an aqua zumba. And it really, really would upset me that we chose to be a part of this community, and now they want to take it away because of what, sunbathing? There's sun all over Florida. You have another pool. You're going to fix another pool, from what I understand. I mean, what is the problem with having 3 hours? Look at these ladies. They're awesome. This woman, I go to the pool today. I'm amazed by her. I cannot, I go and I see them, and I feel bad for myself because I go, oh my God, I have this, and you know, what am I going to be in 10 years? But then I look around and I see these people, and they're just like going at it. And I'm thinking, you know what? Life is going to be good. We picked a great place to be. If you take this away, who's to say that later down the road, somebody is not going to like pool one having their laps? So what? Somebody's going to come in and say, we don't like that they're doing laps in the morning anymore at pool one, so let's take it away. Or I just noticed here, like I said, I'm new here, but I just noticed, you know, swimming for kids. I think this is a great thing for the children. So because they might be a little noisy or something, we're not going to have it? I mean, isn't Barefoot Bay a place where you want new people to come, you want them to be a part of your family? I mean, that's the reason why we chose to come here. I would really, really hate to see that you guys would give up Zumba or let them lose their time slot. They've been here for 10 years. Like I said, I'm a newbie. I really don't know much what's going on. I can only assert what I've seen. And it would really be a shame that you took this away from these people and me, because now I'm a part of the Bay. And it was one of the reasons why we joined here. We joined to be a part of this community for the fishing, for the beach, for all the wonderful activities that you have here. Why would you take that away from these wonderful people? So I ask you, please, as a newbie, and it's, you know, and it's important for my health, please don't take this away. It's only really 50 minutes, 3 times a week. That's it. There's a lot of sun in Florida. You can go to pool 1 for 40 minutes, go home, eat lunch, come back. Let these people have their exercise. Let me have these exercise. It's important. With that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jeannie Thompson?
Thank you, folks, for letting me speak. I've been doing Zumba since August of 2011. I am Jeannie G. Thompson, 528 Aqua Drive, Barefoot Bay. I have lived 34 years in this Barefoot Bay community. I love it, and especially I love Zumba. And please, we have all the rights of everybody else, and let us keep our time slot. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Cheryl Morehouse?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Morehouse. I own 2 homes here in the Bay, 908 Hawthorne Circle, and I live at 1336 Barefoot Circle. I'm here to support Dawn. I've been coming down since 2015. I come down in October, I go home for the holidays, and I come back until I decide to go home, April, May, or what have you. I was very disheartened to find out just recently what Dawn has gone through. I know this isn't anything you can control. Computer trolls and people in general, they all have their own personalities, but it's sad. She has given of her time for 10 years. 1 hour 3 times a week is not huge. Yes, it's from 2 to 3. You know, it's COVID times. We're all giving up something. And if we have to leave a pool or leave a building, or we can't make it into a meeting like some people here tonight can't, we have to make those adjustments. This is not evidently a request. I don't know. I'm pretty new as far as finding out how things run here in the Bay, and I'm sure I will probably never find out because it seems like there's a lot of politics. And this is sad for Dawn. However, I love Aqua Zumba. I have been going since I owned here. Last year, for personal reasons, I couldn't come down. I just had surgery on my knee. I came back. I actually got permission from my physician that Aqua Zumba and the fact that I can golf during these months where I can at home and I walk is good enough physical therapy. Now, I know there are many other women, and this woman just amazes me every time I go to Aqua Zumba class, that use it for a lot more severe conditions. I think you need to do as Dawn requested, put it on the agenda, and also listen to what people are saying. I agree with Ms. Thomas here that you can't let a small few run the community. It's got to be, we all pay our taxes. I pay for 2 homes, and I deserve to be able to attend an Aqua Zumba class during the hours that I can, and definitely during the hours that Dawn, who has given of her time so freely, and like she said, if you want her to change it, you're giving her a time that she's not available because this is her livelihood. So I ask you again, thank you for listening to us tonight, but please take in consideration how many people really want this to continue in the same time slot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Melvin Phillips.
Thank you. I'm Melvin Phillips. I live at 1212 Paratus Drive. I'm a snowbird for 20 years now. My late wife attended the Zumba classes. She had a back fusion, both knees replaced, left hip replaced. That's the only exercise that she could get that would do anything for her and make her feel better and be able to get around. I just like to have Aqua Zumba kept there because I know there's a lot of other ladies and gentlemen that come that could use the exercise. And that's the only exercise they get. And I just wish all these petty little arguments would end. I mean, we're all members of Barefoot Bay. Enjoy it. We live in one of the best places around. So let's enjoy it and at least be nice to one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Is it Christine Dyson?
Good afternoon. My name is Christiane Dyson. I
Christiane.
live at 1000 Sebastian. Doing Zumba for
Just pull it down a little bit.
Okay.
There you
I've
go.
been doing Zumba for 6 years, and at my doctor's request, because I'm a diabetic, to keep my A1C down at where I can, tolerate. I'm not a speaker, so I just hope that you recognize the fact that the good that Zumba does with everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Burford?
I'm Steve Burford. My wife, Ermi, and I live at 1068 Manila. We've been coming to the Bay for 7 years. We had a short bicycle ride from our house to Pool 2 when it was open, and she really enjoyed Dawn's exercise programs and the folks that she's met, and that now that Pool 2 is closed for a temporary period of time, that's been moved over to Pool 3. The sun, I think, is about as brilliant at Pool 3 as it was at 2, and it's certainly as brilliant to the folks that want to sunbathe at Pool 3 during 2 and 3 outside the pool as it is inside the pool. I don't understand why the issues, the anguish is these people trying to shut down aqua zumba that so many people participate in, so many people enjoy, to try and sunbathe somewhere when they can do that outside the pool, in their own house, whatever. We've enjoyed that. It was a bicycle ride from our house to Pool 2 that will be back again when Pool 2 is back open again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wendy Zarek? I apologize if I get the names wrong.
Hi, my name is Wendy Zarek, 1066 Royal Palm Drive. I'm a member of Aqua Zumba. I enjoy it when I get to go. This is just an observation, and I don't know if it can be considered, but I know the pool capacity is 35 with the two attendants, but the Aqua Zumba class is never usually 35. So what I'm thinking is, why can't you operate like Pool 1 operates for their exercises? And once the 2 o'clock opens up for the Aqua Zumba members to go in, if there's room for sunbathers to come in, why can't you allow 10 or 12 sunbathers in? Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hupman? Gene Hupman?
I'm Gene Hupman. I'm new to the area. It's like my wife said, 610 Puffin Drive.
By the way, I'm glad all you new people are here. Thank you for coming.
I just retired, so I'm home. I need my hour by myself. No, I'm only kidding. But if they want to just sunbathe, they can, there's Pool 1. If people start shutting stuff down because they don't like the hour time slot here or there, what's going to happen when somebody, like they said, the swim laps in the morning at Pool 1 say, they're holding my time, get rid of them. The kids, get rid of them. Just have a pool and nothing else. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just one second. I was just trying to get all the Zumba people together here. Oh, we have one more. That's Michelle Ely? Ellie. I'm sorry.
Hi. I'm Michelle Ellie, 731 Oleander Circle. And so many other people have said exactly what I'm going to say, but I'll make it brief. We came here 5 years ago. The first year we were renters. Now we're owners. And one of the reasons we chose Barefoot Bay was aqua zumba, or at least my husband gets his hour to himself, as that gentleman does. And I get to exercise. I have a bum knee, and going to the gym or riding a bike hurts, but it doesn't in the pool. So I greatly enjoy aqua zumba. I appreciate Dawn immensely. It's fun. She gives of her time freely, and it would be a shame to lose this opportunity that so many people enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lorraine Andrews.
I'm going to speak on the aqua zumba myself. I've been here since 2012, and they have been in pool 3 since then, since I've been here, without any problems. I feel that it needs to stay there, and it does do a lot of people a lot of good. Myself, having a neck injury for over 20 years and surgery, and come back from that, it takes a long period, and your muscles need work, your nerves are damaged, you have your ability for movement is not there. Thank God I'm there now, but it took a long time. So I am in total agreement with Mr. Coffey's decision to keep aqua zumba in there for those time periods and for everybody here in this room. If the other people want to sunbathe, they can even sunbathe in their own backyard. The sun is everywhere. It's not just here at pool 3. So I am requesting the board to keep it as is with the aqua zumba during this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvette Hicks.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to support Dawn.
Could you give us your address, please? Your name and address?
Yvette Hicks, 887 Pecan. Okay, I have been doing Zumba with Dawn for 10 years at Pool 3. Pool 2 is where I go swimming the other 4 days because all my friends are there. This pool has been closed since last March. Came back in January. The pool is still closed. Do we have any idea as to when Pool 2 would be open? Will it be open this year? Thank you very much for your time, hon.
Thank you. Mary Miller.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mary Miller. I live at 906 Jacaranda Drive. I'm here to talk about reduction of legal fees and cost. I don't think it's right that us Barefoot Bay owners should have to write these debts off that these homeowners do. When they bought the house, they got a book that told them what was expected of them when they moved in here. I don't think it's fair. Economy is not that great right now here. We don't have money for this or that. So what are we going to do? Give free money away for reduction in legal fees? I don't think it's right. So I vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Nancy Isley.
Nancy Isley, Barefoot Boulevard. I'm here to ask, Mr. Chairman, if you would reconsider being able for the audience to participate before the board makes a decision on how to spend our money. In the past, and I can't remember how far back, we've always been allowed to come up at any point, actually, and have input as to what you're discussing. When you give us audience participation at the beginning of the meeting, we have no idea what you're going to discuss. I don't know what's in your head and what's going on. So when I have an opportunity to contribute to something that might help you in making that decision, I would certainly like to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Coppola? Do we have Sandy here? Is she outside? Just 1 second.
You want me to leave this on?
No.
Okay. Sandy Coppola, 422 Osprey. I'm just here to find out why, about the RV storage raising. I heard you guys throwing some numbers on there. I was just concerned, why do we even have RV storage costs when it's the only thing, one of the only things in the bay that generates very good revenue? And you're not putting anything back into the lot. The lot's still not, it's still broken up asphalt. But, I've checked, your numbers of somebody here had thrown those numbers that are private. They were comparing public to private lots. Private lots aren't paying, they're not getting the revenue that we are. But, you were talking about 50, at point you said maybe $50 a month. For me to keep my RV here all year at $50 a month, it's cheaper for me just to take it over down the street and pay the $55 a month for 4 months that I'm here. It's kind of there, and then you're, like you said, you're comparing it. Snug Harbor charges $34. There are some RVs down the mobile home parks, I checked. Some of them don't even charge. They just let it's for their people who live there. But we're already paying $68 a month for everything, and then you want to raise the RV lot to even $40. I don't see where the money, why we need to do it. I talked to somebody, they said it's not an amenity. It brings people in there. That's why I bought in here, because I could park the boat or the RV in the lot. But to raise it to maybe $50, that's an overkill. That's like, what, a 25% increase in 1 year? So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, sir. Do you know if there's anyone else outside? Mr. Coppola, do you know if there's anyone else outside that wants to speak?
I think 4 more people out here, 4 or 5 more people.
Could you ask them if anyone else wants to speak? Otherwise, we're going to close audience participation.
Nobody else is speaking.
There are no additional speakers.
No additional speakers? Okay. All right, thank you. Just a comment for you, and I appreciate all of you coming, and again, the rules of how you have a audience participation is the same for every officially legislative body in the state, whether it's a school board, whether it's a city council, whether it's commissioners, any elected officials run the meetings the same way. Just one comment, just for you Zumba people, just so you know, 2 things. One, I'm extremely happy that you're all keeping fit. It's a good thing to be doing. Number 2, I have a small blurb about this Zumba thing coming out in the Tatler, so just make sure you read that. And number 3, we do not need a motion. We do not need an agenda item in order to do that. Just so you understand, I'm only explaining how it runs. The only reason we would ever have a motion is if we were going to change what management was doing. So until that happens, there will not be an agenda item or a motion on it unless we're looking to change what our administration does, just so you understand. Okay? I didn't want you to go away thinking we weren't, listening to what you say. Anyone else, please, for audience participation? Okay, audience participation is closed. Unfinished business, violations committee appointments. Mr. Coffey.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And if I can beg your pardon for a moment, I have no plans of changing the aqua zumba scheduling, never have. And so folks who came tonight can rest assured you have your hour Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Back to the agenda item. We have three homeowners who have expressed interest in the two violation alternate seats. Staff recommends if the board so wishes, they could appoint two of the three. If not, we can defer this to the next meeting.
Okay, board, we have three members on here. You see on your agenda, you have the names. We've had this open for a while. I can see us, these are alternate positions, correct? These are alternate. I can see us appointing two members. I looked at the resumes of Newman and Holmberg, and does the board have a pleasure? Yes, Mr. Morrissey. No, we're on the wrong one. We're on the other one. We're looking at Preston, Holmberg, or Newman.
Move we accept Mr. Holmberg and Ms. Newman.
A motion to accept Mr. Holmberg and Deanna Newman as alternates. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded seconded. Discussion, please. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, motion by Mr. Gruno, seconded by Mr. Nugent to appoint Stephen Holmberg and Deanna Newman to the committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. Mr. Morrissey is a no. Motion passes 3-1. Phase reopening discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, trustees, residents here and watching at home. For those new to Barefoot Bay or have come back for our winter season, the board has reviewed reopening since last spring. The staff's only recommendation for change is to effective, I have that Monday, March 1st. I meant it to be, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, too much work going on. We recommend to go back to full capacity for pools 1 and 3 effective tomorrow, and as soon as possible, when pool 2 is able to be reopened, open that at full capacity.
Let me get that straight. So are we doing Monday, March 1? That's March 1, Monday, right?
Yeah, my apologies. We can do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
And so we're going full capacity of pools 1 and 3 tomorrow. And say the second part was...
and as soon as pool 2, the status of that, because I know a lot of folks are interested in it, where the vendor is waiting on an inspection by Brevard County. And once that is passed, they will apply the final coat to the surface, and then they can proceed with finishing up the pit project. Weather is paramount at this point, so dry weather is good for this project. We anticipate worst case scenario, within a couple weeks of it being opened.
Okay.
With the food and beverage, golf course, we believe the difference in capacities. Pool 3 currently is at 37 people, including staff. This would take it to 54. Pool 1 has a much larger deck, and it's not an issue.
Okay. Again, remember I told you in the Tatler, I said by the time they read my article on the 29th, I'm hoping pool 2 is open. So, okay, we have a recommendation from staff to implement phase 4 full capacity at pools 1 and 3 effective Monday, March 1st, or actually tomorrow. And at pool 2, and as soon as it is open, do we have a motion to that effect, please? Mr. Morrissey made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Gruno seconded. Discussion.
Yeah, I got a question. In the Air Force, we used to have a saying, fly ahead of the mission. With 54 spaces being available at pool 3, and I don't want to rip the aqua zumba scab off here, but let's say there's only 30 people that are there for aqua zumba. Are we going to allow 24 other people to sit in the chairs?
You're preempting my note I was making for the end of the meeting. It's our intent to, if you approve going to full capacity tomorrow, to lift the closure of the pool for aqua zumba. I did not make that decision lightly, but aqua zumba has 3 days a week versus 4 for other people, and contrary to what certain memories are, the information I had of that day was folks weren't playing well with each other. I believe the extra capacity will allow everybody to coexist peacefully as much as possible, and within a couple weeks of getting Pool 2 open, the issue should largely go away until next year.
Any other discussion?
But to answer my question, does that mean we're going to commingle, or it's going to be exclusive?
They have to give room for Zumba when they come in, and if that happens, then it's fine as long as they can go in on the sides, as long as they give the room to Zumba.
We're going to go back to hoping that folks can get along.
Right.
Hopefully these last few weeks have encouraged some folks to be a little more considerate with each other, but we will no longer close the pool at 1:45 starting tomorrow for aqua zumba under the hope that there's capacity for aqua zumba.
Okay. Everybody heard the motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to ask Mr. Coffey, how did opening up billiards work?
I have not heard any complaints. I had one resident, unhappy with the limited capacity of the room, but I explained to him that the board and myself were still very cautious about packing inside buildings without well ventilation. We've been very good so far with very limited COVID incidences in the Bay, and it wasn't what he wanted to hear, but he understood. But I've not heard of any problems.
Okay, new business. Request for reduction of legal fees and costs. Mr. Coffey or Rich, who was doing this? Rich? Mr. Armington, please. By the way, our agenda, I believe, is 145 pages. I think 80 some of them were on this issue.
I had feedback from a trustee that there was not enough.
I understand, but I'm just simply saying there's 145 pages, and 80 of them, I think, were on this issue, and that was probably 78 too many.
Okay, I will take the board's advice, and we will trim it down going forward.
Rich Armington, Resident Relations Manager. This is a request for reduction of legal fees, 1173 Waterway. And the request is for consideration of the waiver of the legal fees. And I'm sure you've all looked at the 50 to 80 pages that I've attached to the agenda. So I don't know if you have any questions, but Mr. Neely is here. I have his letter, and I'm sure you've seen that, which is attached. Staff recommends that the BOT approve the request by the homeowner to waive the legal fees. Legal fees would be the $672.50. The hard costs are $465.39, which Cliff can explain are costs that we've had to pay for filing fees and to the courts. I'm asking for the legal fees. Mr. Neely is here. If you would want to talk to him, he would like all the costs waived. Do you have any questions on my 50-page report?
Yeah, I don't mean to jump in, but I don't need Mr. Neely to talk, but I do have two questions, and I'm fine with this. A waiving legal fees. My question is, I understand that this thing was just a couple of inches short of the DOR, correct?
What happened was the house was violated.
Have a short answer, no. Okay, go ahead.
I'll try.
Yeah.
The house was violated in 2018. We never, and I'll take part of the blame, we've never had real contact with the homeowner. We were waiting for a permit to come in so that we could legally go on the property. Once he got the paperwork from Cliff, he contacted our office. I went out and measured it, and it's kind of hard to measure looking up, but it looked like it's 2 to 6 inches too short, and I just felt in good conscience that I could not pursue that violation anymore. I just felt that, you know, most people think that, you know, we're hard, well, sometimes we're not, but don't tell anybody, please. So I told him, you know what, and he offered to put a pan on. I said, that's up to you if you want to put another pan to do it. I just felt at that time that case needed to be closed. We needed to move on.
Okay, and again, I jumped the gun a little bit, but we have a recommendation by board. We need a motion to get this actually for further discussion by the board. Is there a motion to accept staff's recommendation to waive legal fees?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Nugent. Is there a second? If we do not have a second, the motion dies for lack of a second. There's no second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there a different motion from the board?
I need a little bit more understanding on this.
We need a motion to discuss it. That's what we need. We need a motion to get it on discussion.
Move to have a motion for discussion only.
So you move the request for discussion only. Is there a second to that, Mr. Morrissey? Okay, discussion.
How did we get here? One of the things I have to agree with, there was a person in the audience tonight that said, this may not be a good idea. And my gut tells me this is not a good idea. So until I understand why we're doing this, I'm going to be a no vote.
One of the things, before we get to Rich, before we go into all that, one of the things I think we have to remember is that we're looking at something that is a matter of 2 inches, 3, 4 inches, whatever it is, without knowing all of that in the beginning. And we get criticized so often for what we do with DOR regulations by people. And I look at this as an opportunity to say, we are so close to being not in violation, why would we violate the person? And so I guess I'm on the other side.
So to help me understand this, what we're basically saying is we're going to give them a waiver because of the 2 inches. And then because we gave them a waiver, we're going to rescind any of the costs we had with the property.
Good. Mr. Coffey.
Trustee Grinnell, Mr. Armington brought this issue to me, requesting to place it on the agenda. And the reason I support the waiver of part of the fees is I think both sides have some culpability here. I think the homeowner could have allowed us on the property sooner, and we would have measured it. Our goal with every DOR violation is voluntary compliance and abiding by the DOR standards. The fact that, in our opinion, that this never was a violation, it just appeared to be a violation, because he lost part of the carport in the storm. From the road, it looked too short. Contrary to what some folks think, we don't go stomping through people's yards. And so when it looked too short, we sent an initial letter. One of the lessons Mr. Armington and I believe we've learned on this is we need to increase our efforts to try to get homeowners to allow us on their property early in the process to verify exact measurements when there's something like this. But that's why I support waiving part of the fees, not all of them, but part of them, is because, in our opinion, this was never a violation.
And the fees we're waiving, if we do this, are $672.50. The hard costs of $465.39 remain, correct?
That's staff's recommendation.
That's what we're recommending, yes.
Again, other comments, questions? Mr. Gruno, Mr. Morrissey, Mr. Nugent. Watch your mic, yeah, there you go.
In the past, I have spoken against waiving fees.
In this case, it sounds like two rights don't make a wrong. Okay. However, there was a wrong. What are we talking about money-wise as far as the fees?
There's two figures here, $672.50 are legal fees, the $465.39 we are not looking to waive, only the $672.50.
I'll go with that.
I think that's fair. John gave us a good analysis of how we got there.
Okay.
Mr. Nugent, any
I think
comments?
it's fair.
Mr. Chairman, could the homeowner talk at this time?
Yeah, we can. It's just a special event, we can, sure. Just, again, I don't need you to plead the case as much as it's a legal thing we're looking at here, so, sure.
Do I got to press this or anything? Okay. This whole thing, when it started, they sent me a notice saying that I had to take it all the way out to the end. This was back in 2018. I went to y'all, I said, look, I don't have the money to do it, which I don't. I won't going to borrow the money. If y'all had after that, when I had to go to the lawyer, I got a letter from the lawyer, and I had to, I came and talked to Rich, and Rich said, I said, look, I've come to find out it don't have to be but 18 feet. Because I was willing, I'm going to court now, so yeah, I'm going to do what I got to do. So, to put it all in a nutshell, if y'all had asked, which you never did ask, to come onto my property and measure this, we wouldn't be here having this conversation now. I'm in compliance, even though I'm short. He said I was in compliance, so if I'm in compliance, why should I have to pay for these fees? That's my take on it.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, the motion has been made and seconded that accept staff's recommendation to approve the request by the homeowner to waive the legal fees. Legal fees are $672.50. All those in favor of the motion?
Before you vote, can we just get a clarification? I know, Mr. Mino, you've restated the motion. I think Mr. Greneau made the motion, second by Mr. Morrissey, if that's correct. We just want the clerk to make sure we got that right.
Right. You got that, Steph, right? No.
That was for
Mr. Nugent
discussion.
seconded.
Oh, sorry. He made the original motion, then it died for lack of
Yeah,
second.
that died for lack of a second.
Mr.
So
Greneau then
Mr.
made
Greneau
another
made a
motion.
motion.
I
and I'm
made
not-
mine for discussion. Do we need one?
Can we clarify that the motion, that it was a motion to approve as stated by the chair, for the purpose of discussion?
I'd like to amend my motion to approve the waiving of the legal fees.
And
that
there was a
was
second, correct?
It was seconded.
Steph, do we have the second? You have who seconded? Mr. Morrissey seconded. And again, every motion we make is simply to get something up for discussion. I mean, it's not an item unless we make a motion. So we do have a second, and we do have a motion. We have a second. We're waiving legal fees of $672.50. Everybody understand that? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Mr. Greneau? Mr. Morrissey? Mr. Nugent?
Yes.
And chair says yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Morrissey, this is now the one we were talking about, Mr. The next item is the Architectural Review Control Committee, ARC appointments. We have two people who have applied as, I believe they are alternates to this committee also. Is that correct, Mr. Coffey?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's
Oh,
actually...
I think we're losing. So you really don't care about us. You don't care about us.
There-
You just were here for, just get what you want and then leave, right?
Mr. Chairman, for the audience's edification, there's actually three requested actions on this item. A reappointment of Ms. Lockmondy to a new 3-year voting term.
that's right.
Appointment of the alternate, where we have two homeowners who are interested, and a selection of a trustee to serve as the liaison.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had one circled. Let's take the first one. The recommendation is to reappoint Mrs. Melba Lockmondy to the ARC committee for how long is it, a term? 3 years? 3 years. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move we accept Ms. Melba Lockmandy.
Do we have a second? second by Mr. Morrissey. Do we have discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Second, we need a motion to approve one of these people to fill Mr. Gruno's position, alternate member. We have two people on the who have applied for this, Mr. Helen Gannon and Joseph Klusky. Do we have a motion to appoint one of these people? Mr. Morrissey. A motion was made to appoint Joe Klusky to this. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Gruno. Is there any discussion or any other indication of anyone else? No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We need a BOT member to sit on the as a liaison to the ARC committee. That's right. I was thinking of the NRP, but that's different. Okay. We need a BOT member to sit as the liaison to the ARC committee. Anyone so desire? I would do it. I'm chairman of this, but I go in. Mr. Morrissey, thank you very much. Is there a motion to appoint Mr. Morrissey as a liaison?
Move we appoint Mr. Morrissey as our liaison.
Seconded by the chair. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morrissey. The next one is the FASD conference attendance. If you've read the emails, you know that Mr. Klosky has one of the only people to go through, and John, you know a lot more about this than I do, but to go through the whole program. He, of course, left the board prior to his being able to get what? What did he get for this? He was supposed to get
His certification.
certification, exactly. And we are looking to send Mr. Klosky as our representative to the 2021 FASD conference. And I believe our attorney says that we should indicate he is going there as our liaison, as our representative, if we do this.
Yes.
Thank you, Cliff. Make a motion by Mr. Morrissey to approve this recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Nugent. Any discussion?
I think this would be a great honor. When I went up to the one at Hammock Beach, this is not an easy thing to accomplish, a certification as a district officer. And since he was supposed to get it last year, I think it's an honor for us to send him.
Absolutely. And putting 14 years in this board, and I don't know how many years as chairman, believe me, I mean, this is a small token for us to make sure he gets his certification. So all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. RV storage fees. Again, I looked at this. I thought it was very well put together, very well done. Mr. Coffey.
At our workshop earlier in the month, the board reviewed storage fees and has the varying different options out on the private sector, instructed staff to come back with recommendation. Basically, staff's recommendation is over the next 3 fiscal years through the budget process to increase the fees $5 per month for one space. I will just a point of clarification. A resident had made a comment about the price he pays. He's paying for 2 spaces. So this would take the cost of one space to $41 plus tax, effective October 1. This would not actually make the change. This would just the budget is all done except for the editing and stuff. So it's too late to add it to what you get next Wednesday. But on the 16th of March, we could make that change if you so desire.
You see the recommendation from staff to modify the budget and five-year plan, increase RV storage fees by $5 a month for 22, 23, 24. It would bring those fees to $41, $46, and $51 respectively. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we increase the fees by $5 effective April 1st. Excuse me, May 1st. That will give John and his staff the ability to send notices to the people. They may elect to move their vehicles, that is their RVs. But I think it best serves the Bay to make this effective May 1st.
Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Mr. Morrissey. Discussion. What would this do to any plans if it goes to May 1?
Basically, we, on the 16th, we would tweak the budget to show a little additional revenue. Trustee Nugent had advised me of his plans to make the motion, so I've discussed this with Mr. Armington, and they're prepared to get a letter out probably by the end of next week to all the people leasing spaces, advising them of this so that they have time if they wish to look other places or make a informed decision in a timely manner.
I think a point should be made also so people understand that, people say, what are you doing trying to raise money? Oh, absolutely, we're trying to raise money. We're trying to generate income for the Bay as much as we can, and no matter what we do to help pay for what we provide for amenities. So that always is something we look at. If this can generate additional revenue for the Bay, and it's still lower than most of the other places around here to store your vehicles, I just think it's a good idea. Mr. Gruno.
What would be the disadvantage of making it go into effect at the fiscal year? Have it a nice clean break.
Fiscal year is not until October.
Right.
Just some deferred receipts, you would have a little less money in the bank.
I just think it would be an easier pill to swallow if we did it with the fiscal year. The other thing we have to do is educate the folks that it's going to be a gradual graze, because there's a lot of folks that think it's going to go right to 50.
No, the motion is 41, 46, 51 over 3 years. We have a motion on the floor. The only way we can do that, if we were interested in doing that, is to amend the motion. I'm not against or for that, but I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of difference. A feeling to the board.
I still think May 1st.
I'm sorry?
I still believe May 1st.
Okay, any other discussion?
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, based on our average occupancy, you're talking about an additional $1,800 a month.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a grievance. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but it's just... Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept staff's recommendation to increase, if I can get the paper open, to increase the RV storage fees by $5 a month for fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23, and fiscal year 24, starting on May 1st. That would bring those fees to $41, $46, and $51 respectively. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Let's do a roll call vote for money. Mr. Gruno. Yes. Mr. Morrissey. Mr. Nugent.
Yes.
And chair says yes. Motion passes. Pool number 2, resurfacing project, confirmation of change orders, et cetera. Mr. Coffey?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. When the vendor arrived a few weeks ago to start chipping off the 2 layers that were anticipated, they quickly found a 3rd layer. And if you think about the size of pool 3, every square inch, instead of being 2 layers thick, and each layer is about a quarter inch or more, there was a 3rd layer. And Each piece of particle had to be put in a 5-gallon bucket and lifted out of the pool. So within the surface and the gutterings, additional time and disposal costs came to about $6,000. The policy manual contains language that allows myself to approve a change order that would delay a project upon the approval of Chairman Mino. He gave that approval on February 5th, so this work has already been done. Approval change order has been approved. Staff recommends the board confirm said action for transparency purposes.
Is there a motion to accept that recommendation?
Move to accept the recommendation.
Second? Second by Mr. Morrissey. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We eliminated 9F, and we go to G, request for shade meeting. Is this Mr. Reppinger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, there are, as you know, we've talked about it for quite some time, the current litigation that we're involved with regarding the former Blissful Things lease. There are certain reasons why, or certain allowances under the statutes that allow the board to meet outside of the sunshine in a closed-door session. Those things relate to the cost of litigation expenditures and settlement purposes, strategy sessions. What's required under the statute as cited in your agenda memo is that your board counsel must, at a public meeting, what we're at, ask the board for approval of the holding of a meeting outside of the sunshine pursuant to 286.0118. We've reached a point in the case where we've had dialogue with the defendant and some rulings from the court that we believe that we need direction from the board related to litigation expenditures and or settlement. And so we're asking that the board approve of the holding of the closed-door session March 9th, 2021 at 10 a.m. in the administration building.
Is there a motion to accept that recommendation? Motion by Mr. Morrissey. Is there a second to the second by Mr. Gruno? Discussion. I have one question, and I think I asked this before, which is different a little bit than what I did in Michigan. These notes of the meeting are public when again, Cliff?
When the litigation is concluded.
When the litigation is concluded.
So
Okay.
what the way
Do
that
we have to actually publish them, or are they just available?
they're available as a public record.
Okay.
So what happens is just the nuts and bolts of it is we convene in a public session on March 9th.
Mm-hmm.
We will then go into closed door session at which you all will be present. I will be present, the community manager will be present, and a court reporter will be present. The court reporter will be taking a verbatim record of everything that's said by everyone that's in attendance. That is transcribed, and that record is held in confidence outside of public record law, exempt, until such time as the litigation is concluded. Once the litigation is concluded, that transcript becomes a public record and can be obtained by any party.
Is this the same, and I don't mean to get off topic, is this the same thing if you were into negotiations with a union? It's exactly the same?
Yes.
So all those, you could go through a whole negotiation session, and later, after the contract is signed, sealed, delivered, et cetera, this is all public knowledge
That's correct.
available?
That's correct.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the purpose of it is to prevent the other side from being able to gain an advantage by having access to it. But once you reach the deal or once you conclude the litigation, the purpose of the
And
keeping
it's
it
actually a
quiet
good
is
thing
not-
because when you go the opposite way, like we do in Michigan, you could go into closed session and say, we discussed negotiations.
Correct.
And that was your minutes.
Correct.
And here it's different. Now
Correct.
it's verbatim. So
And-
everybody remember that when we go into this.
And we're limited to what we can talk about.
Right,
So
I
we're
understand,
limited
sure.
to these things.
Okay, motion was made. Any more discussion? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, it was made, yeah. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Cliff.
Thanks.
Managers report.
Finance Department received a check for $13,350 for the sale of 733 Hyacinth Circle. That was a property we bought through the NRP program. Staff will have a budget amendment recognizing the receipts and putting that money back in the NRP program account. We also received a check of just under $4,000 from the state's unclaimed property folks for uncashed checks from 2000. And also, Mr. Henley has been working diligently to try to help our financial transparency. He now has Finance Weekly updates on our website where he posts both the receipts and disbursements of the week as well as the most recent bank reconciliation. Resident relations, the ARC meeting on the 2nd of the month had 24 consent items, all approved, 12 others, 2 were tabled. The ARC meeting on the 16th, 2 old business, 1 approved, 1 denied, 23 consent items approved, 5 others, 4 approved, 1 denied. Next ARC meeting is next Tuesday in this building at 9 a.m. The last 2 VC meetings, violation committee meetings, have been canceled since most of the cases have come into compliance. There is one on Friday with 14 items on the agenda. The next one is scheduled March 12th at 10 a.m. in this building. Interesting facts for January. Only 30 homes were sold, with 46 new homeowners receiving their social membership badges. Property Services has been very busy as always. I won't read all the details, but in addition to the planned works, they've come across a few things such as broken wires, a water leak in one of the entrance doors to Building A that has grown into a little bit larger project since the building is closed for renovations. Replaced the trash receptacles and added some more around the walking path by Building A. That's been something residents have been requesting. And started a refurbishing of a little island in the periwinkle gladiolus area. There's some shrubs that had been planted years ago and had got too big for their britches, so when we get some rainy weather, we will replant that area. Golf Course Pro Shop CVO tournament is on March 6th. There's a limit to 72 players, and the sign-up is underway. Club Championship, sign-up starts next Monday. This year, due to COVID, there will be no pre-tournament dinner. There'll be a box lunch on the first day at tea times. Pump 3 has been completed by the irrigation folks as Pump 2 the motor ran into the problems, a minor change order to buy a new part for the pump. The weather in Central Texas impacted Barefoot Bay after all, because the truck to ship it over here didn't want to leave California with all the icy weather in Texas. So we anticipate that truck arriving to Florida early next week, and Watertronics will have it installed towards the end of the week. Food and beverage, twice a weekend outdoor music is now underway. We will be bringing to you at future meetings to get your confirmation of shifting the Sunday music to every other Sunday or every other Sunday, and I believe the Saturday music to evening in May as the weather starts warming up and rain. It's tentatively scheduled that way with our musicians. They understand that the board ultimately will approve or deny it. 50th anniversary celebration. Planning group held their first one. This is something going to be on July 3rd with a fun day for all with the fireworks that evening, unless there's rain. The much anticipated, at least in my household, FY22 working draft proposed budget will be out next week on March 3rd. It'll probably be in the evening on the trustees' doorsteps. Later, a few days later, residents can get copies on the website or free condensed versions in Building A. The first budget workshop will be in this building at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 16th. The CVO golf tournament, Trustee Loveland asked me to inform you all that a member of the CVO contacted him to see if the trustees were going to sponsor a hole again. In the past, according to Mr. Loveland, each trustee contributed $10 towards the sponsorship. And the other two things have been mentioned already. That concludes my report.
Before we go to Mr. Reppinger, the CVO golf tournament, it's $50 a hole. That's what we think, their sponsorship? Do we know? We don't know, huh?
It's $40, $50, something
Yeah,
like
okay. Again, I think it's a good idea. I will contribute for sure. So if any of you want to do that, Mr. Bruno said, okay, just notify CVO or whoever will make sure we do that, okay? Whether it is. I lost my agenda. Oh, here we go. Attorney's report, Mr. Reppinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sent out just before the meeting, so you don't have it yet. We didn't meet last time on the second Friday, so I sent out the DOR violation case status report, so you have that in your email. If you have any questions or concerns, you'll see all the updates from the last report that you got in that email. So if you have questions or comments about those cases, you'll see the status color-coded and updated for the next action that will be taken in each of the individual cases that are listed. Not to belabor the point on the action that you took tonight, but I did want to just try to touch on it just briefly related to the waiver of the fees and costs for waterway, and just so the record is clear and you understand. The cost, just so it's clear to everyone, those are hard costs. So what weren't waived were the costs of the filing fee, and what's included in that is filing fees, the issuance of the fee for the summons that gets issued when we file a suit, and for the service. So what happens when we file the suit is we file it with the clerk, they charge us a filing fee. We have a summons that's issued by the clerk, and then we hire a process server. The process server takes the package of documents from us, comes down to Barefoot Bay, actually serves it on the defendant homeowner or named party, and those costs constitute the hard costs. The rest of it is the legal fees that you've incurred in the drafting of the complaint, the review of the case, communication with staff, anything that's involved in prepping the case before we get it to the point where we can file it with the court. So that's the distinction between the legal fees that are more like kind of soft operational costs, I guess, and the actual hard costs that are fees that were charged by third parties that the district's obligated to pay related to the cases. That case, 1173 Waterway, is a perfect example of the kind of cases that we've talked about that are problematic, where we have filed suit, we almost immediately upon filing suit and service, the respondent either comes into compliance or approaches staff about coming into compliance. Normally, when the respondent is served, they have 20 days to answer the complaint. But in a case like that, where the respondent defendant goes straight to staff and says, I want to resolve the case, or maybe there was a communication lapse for whatever reason, and they didn't know about the case or whatever, those are the cases that we basically stop and let staff try to work them out and resolve them before the case goes any further. So in that case, there was no answer filed in the case, and the case just kind of sat in a stayed posture until the compliance could be confirmed, which was done by Mr. Armington. So the action that you took tonight, I think, is good one. I think it makes a lot of sense because what you're not talking about is that if you had proceeded with that case and not waived the fees, the owner either has to pay them or we have to go all the way through to a final judgment saying that we had a right to file the case when we did, which would cost several hundred, if not $1,000 more to get to a final judgment place after trying to recover, those amounts. So it makes sense if you can to consider those issues. Not every case is going to be the same, and I've said this multiple times, and it bears repeating. Every case is different. You're not setting any precedent related to any other case by waiving costs or fees in one particular case. They're all different. Every single case has its own set of facts. You may have an owner that wasn't responsive to you at all, or that was aggressively fighting the district the whole way, and that may not warrant a waiver of the fees. You may have an owner that is very responsive, and that there is maybe a technical issue in the case, and that case gets resolved, as you saw tonight, over a measurement. And so every case is different and needs to be looked at on its own merits. And so, just to the extent that anybody in the community will say, well, you're setting a precedent by doing that. Well, no, you're not. You're looking at every case in the individual light in which that case was presented to you. And that's kind of why you see 50 pages of an agenda package, because every case is different and they need to make sure that you're aware of all the facts that relate to the case. So just one final note on the status report that you'll note is that there were a bunch of cases that we took the tack or the strategy of, instead of just filing the suits, because we were running into that issue of owners coming into compliance relatively quickly after the suits were served, of serving them with demand letters and a copy of the complaint that will be filed. So those hard costs that we've talked about, we weren't incurring those. We were, other than the process server coming down and serving the letters with the complaints, we were basically giving the property owners one additional opportunity to come into compliance before we actually filed officially with the clerk's office. That's been somewhat successful. You will see that there's a number of cases that have come into compliance on the sheet. But there are a round of cases that we have served the demand letters. They haven't come into compliance. We are verifying compliance with status with staff one more time. And if they're not, then there will be another round of complaints that will be filed next week. So there's several cases that are reflected on the list that will fall into that category. So we'll have another round of lawsuits that will be actively filed as litigation next week. And you'll see that in the report. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on from that, this is a little bit off the issues that we typically talk about here at the board. I became aware of the fact, it was brought to my attention, that the Board of County Commissioners is going through their budget cycle right now. And they had a budget workshop last Thursday. And the budget workshop, under the budget workshop, all of the county departments present their budget strategies or plans for the upcoming fiscal year, same as you all deal with. And one of the items that was considered was the utilities department did a presentation during that workshop. The utilities department presented 3 options related to the Barefoot Bay water and wastewater plant for the county to consider that involve either keeping that system, as I think you probably know, and if you don't know, I'll educate you, it's a separate system from the county's integrated utility system. So Barefoot Bay is its own, Barefoot Bay Water Sewer Treatment is its own facility. Your rates are higher than those that are in the county as a whole that are on the system. There were 3 different options that were presented. One was keeping the system separate. One was keeping the system separate and upgrading the system. and one was integrating the system into the county system at large. All of those options have different consequences related to them, related to rate charges and utility hookup charges. Just a simple overview is that option number one, keeping the system separate, could result in either a stagnant or keeping your rate the same as it is, or the Barefoot Bay user's rate the same as it is, if there are no upgrades made to the plant, just increasing as any utility rates would increase. The option two would be improving the plant and keeping it separate, which would make your rates increase substantially. And then option three was again an integration into the county system. There was a lot of discussion about this. I don't really know all of the ins and outs of the consequences related to every option, but it was suggested to me that we may want to take a position on what option district users prefer. It's not really something that we would typically deal with as a board. And I raise this to your attention because it was brought to my attention that we may want to take a position on that.
Is there an increase in cost for integration?
And again, now I'm summarizing as I understand it. My understanding of the integration, there's a couple of different ways that it can be done. What was discussed at the meeting was a leveling off, essentially, of the Barefoot Bay rate until such time as the county rates increased to reach the Barefoot Bay rate, and then they would all increase together. I do not believe that the board as a whole was in favor of that based on my review of the tape. They were more in favor of the Barefoot Bay users bearing more of the long-term costs of integration and upgrading of the system than the county users as a whole. I'm really summarizing what I don't fully have a complete grasp of from a knowledge standpoint. I have reached out to the utilities department to clarify where they're at. They did not make a decision on those options. They deferred that, and they sent the utilities director back to talk to the consultants to determine whether there was a way that they could move forward with integration without the county, without the remainder of the county having to effectively subsidize bringing Barefoot Bay onto the system as a whole. And I think the utilities director is going to come back and with a report to them on that. So if you want, I can email you a copy of the meeting link that you can watch. It is a long meeting, but I can tell you where to find that.
How about our county commissioner? What was his point?
Well, the District 3 commissioner did contact me and was encouraging of the idea of getting some type of a position on those options. And so that's why I'm raising it, why I'm bringing it to your attention.
They're doing their budget now, so this has to be something done in the near future? Or is
I'm not sure when it's coming back. That's another question.
But I mean, are they including this in this upcoming year's budget?
The plan is that those options were presented to be addressed in the upcoming year's budget. Yes. Okay. So I'm bringing this to your attention for, as we like to say in this room a lot, transparency purposes, so that you're aware of the fact that these are options that are being considered. I would encourage you to watch the video and or encourage other users in the district to watch the video to be aware of what those options are and how those might affect the residents. Again, it's not really the utility rate issue is not really a board issue. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to deal with that, but I did want to bring it to your attention, make you aware of it. I will email you out a copy of the link to the meeting.
I would like
video,
the link of it, yeah.
and a reference to where you can watch the discussion. And then I will I already have reached out to utilities to try to get some feedback on where they're at. And if there is a meeting that needs to be held to address that, I will coordinate with staff and make sure that we either add that to an agenda so that we can discuss it, or have a separate meeting or whatever we need to do to talk about that issue if we want to get some kind of a position moving forward. But I did want it to bring it to your attention tonight since it just occurred on last Thursday. Okay.
That's it?
That's all I have.
Thank you. You know, let's just go down to trustee remarks.
Earlier tonight, John's report had violations committee didn't have a meeting for 2 different meetings because they didn't have enough cases. And I would say that's fabulous. Having served on the violations committee for 3 years and enjoyed my time there, we were always trying to mitigate cases. And I think Rich and his gang has done a really good job when you can get to canceling 2 meetings because you've dropped the cases. And so I would just say to the folks out in the audience, if you have a violations issue, call them, because they really do want to keep it off the agenda. Other than that, we're in the home stretch, I guess, with COVID. We're opening up 2 pools. I would just ask everybody, just stay the course, socially distance, wear your mask, get your vaccine. And the Bay as a whole, previous board, current board, has done a really good job in keeping the COVID cases low here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morrissey.
I'll second that. And also, one thing, Cliff, yeah, I had asked you, you were going to have an update about the beach.
Yes. I've talked to Scott Globitz, your site engineer. We talked this week. He believes that we may be able to explore getting approval through FDEP rather than the county, and getting FDEP to sign off on the fact
pilings,
that the fact that we wouldn't need the pilings or an exemption based on the fact that the structure is a prefab built structure.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott is talking to his contacts with FDEP, and we spoke on Tuesday, and he said he would try to get me a response by the end of the week.
Well,
So
thank
if I can get a response by the end of the week, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Nugent. Just a couple comments. First of all, I appreciate the fact that we do include now on our financial report the bills that we pay under $5,000. I mean, it gives a little more transparency to what we do, and et cetera. People have a hard time understanding how this runs. Number 2, we have a report from Mr. Klosky here. Joe, does everyone have a copy of the report? Yeah, everyone has a copy of that report, right? Except for Randy, okay. All right, so take a look at that. I know Joe spent a lot of trouble or a lot of time in going through that, so take a look at that. Number 3, just a comment. I don't go on Facebook, but Cliff, as to the water problem, someone called me the other day and said, you have to look on Facebook and look at this business about the water bills. And I went on there and looked, and if there were 100 people on there, 75 of them think that the water is our water facility, and they were talking about petitions, and they were going to rise up against us and come to board meetings, and not one of them understood that the county runs that.
Welcome to Barefoot Bay.
I know. It just amazed me. They went on and on and on, and not one understood that it's not our facility, and it's unfortunate. So
No, the rates are actually set by county resolution.
Right.
There's county resolution sitting as the Barefoot Bay Water Sewer District that actually sets the rates in that resolution, which this district has
I have a
nothing
comment
to do with.
on that coming out in the Tattler too. Call the county. Okay, that's it. I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting. So moved. Meeting's adjourned.